Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kathy. How are you doing today?
We're doing fabulous, Angela. Let's talk about some business. What do you think about some business ideas for starting any sort of business, from t-shirt quilts to long arming to quilting for others to quilt repair to owning 5 stores across 12 different states?
Let's start big and go with the first one. The last one. Yeah. Let's go there. Our own empire. Yeah, let's do it.
Right. Oh man, I can remember like going and picking up my long arm because I got a used Tin Lizzie. I was out in the middle on I-80, out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. And I looked at my friend who went with me, and I said, "Oh, I wanna own a quilt store someday," which is kind of like a crazy thought, right? And that really wasn't that long ago, in retrospect, when we think about things. But starting a business in your basement is still even a big deal.
It is. It is. Yeah. I remember, getting ready to do mine too. I did mine a little different than you did. I have a friend that we set back in, like, I think it was 2004 when we first met. I have to go back and look and see when Katrina went through, because we were at a Katrina workshop trying to make quilts for people that were being housed in the PNC arena here in Raleigh. And I looked at her and said, someday I'm going to have my own long arm quilting business. And she said, someday I'm going to open a quilt store. And ironically, in 2008, we both did. Yeah.
Fabulous.
So yeah, there's a lot of planning that should go in before you own a business. Like before you open that business, you should do some planning.
Well, yeah. Okay. Should. Did I do any of that? Probably not.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. But there's also going to be bigger road bumps if you don't, right?
Oh,
So we
yeah.
don't always follow our business plans, and sometimes our business plans aren't realistic, right?
Right.
But at least sitting down and doing the road work to begin with is a good thing.
Well, the best piece of advice from moving from our basement to a real store was going to a college and talking to one of the students and getting a basic business plan, because they need to learn how to work with new stores. And so this is kind of like an internship for them for the school. You could actually I went to the University of Nebraska, Omaha, up to the business department, sat and had an appointment, and they looked over everything and gave me some advice, and it was fabulous, and it was free.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of colleges have that. I know the college I went to has it. It's a small school. So the first place I would look is at, your local college, a local community college. There may be courses that you can take too at community college for continuing education, as far as things like how to build a website, how to do a YouTube video, all kinds of different topics that you wouldn't think about that are there for, their entrepreneurial programs. But yeah, a lot of schools have their business programs, right? Majors, they have them working with small businesses. Another one for North Carolina is we have a state line that we can call that will talk to you about how to legally run a business in North Carolina.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure Nebraska has the same thing. I haven't looked into that. But I think after the business plan and trying to figure out how to do that, there is, lofty goals and realistic goals, and some goals that you're going to meet pretty quickly. Those are good to have. It's good to have entry goals, like I'm going to have 5 customers within the first 2 months, or something simple, right? So you get this positive feedback.
Right. You need to plan the day-to-day operation of your business. So what's going to happen on day 1, day 2, day 3, right? Eventually those days are going to just be, on Monday, maybe your banking day, right?
Right.
But to start out with, your goals are going to be smaller because your business is still going to be small.
Right.
But you should still have stretch goals in there, and you should have like 5-year goals and 10-year goals for your business.
And exit strategies.
And you should always have an exit strategy.
Yes.
If your business is going to close next month, how are you getting out of business?
Right.
And it sounds It kind of sounds like getting married and going in with a divorce plan, and in a
Mhm.
way it is.
Mhm.
Um, but it just keeps you, you don't have to guess at that point. If something does come up, you know what you're going to be doing to close down your business.
Right.
And that's part of your contingency planning, right? Is that, like in our case, when we first started out, we were both quilting it from our house. I needed to know how many quilts were in my house, who owned them, right?
Mhm.
Um, phone numbers for those people, right?
Right.
If my house got hit by a tornado, I needed to know, what I was going to say to them. So I actually scripted out, you know, my house flooded. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and your quilt is gone, right? Kind of messages.
Here's
Um,
my insurance number. We will get you taken care of.
yeah, my
Yep.
insurance agent. This is their phone number, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, and unfortunately, they are only going to cover the materials. Yeah, things like that, right?
Right.
So, but also understanding your insurance and understanding what your insurance is and is not going to cover is important. Having conversations with those that agent, so that you know what you can have, how many quilts you can have. So my insurance agent told me very early on they felt comfortable with 25 quilts.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
So, you have 25 projects you're doing for other people. We feel very comfortable with that. Um, I'm sure if I called them now, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we can." I mean, I've been with them since 2008,
Mhm.
so I'm sure now they'd be going, "Yeah, you can have more than that." But at that time, I talked to them about how much just the materials for a quilt top would cost, right? And that's
Mhm.
how they based the number of quilts that they were doing. Um, and things you would need to know before you called your insurance agent. Where are you going to be doing business? Are you doing it inside your house?
Mhm.
Are you going to be doing it at a retail location?
Right.
Right. That changes the type of insurance you have.
Mhm. Big
Some,
time.
yeah, big time. They're going to ask you how much your equipment is worth. Okay, so I don't just use long arms when I'm quilting. I use ironing boards and irons. I may use domestic sewing machines.
Right.
There's lots of things, all of that equipment, not just your long arm, because if you get hit by a tornado, it would all have to be replaced, right?
Right. Your radio that helps you with your entertainment. I mean, little things that you don't
Mhm.
even think about. Absolutely.
Okay, my webcams,
Yes.
right? And then, you know, eh, so you need to know that, are people going to be coming to your house to pick up and drop off quilts?
Right.
That will affect not only your business insurance, but also possibly your home insurance,
Right.
right? And some insurance companies can, do a rider for your business. In some states you can, in some states you can't. So really super important to talk to an insurance agent from your state
Right.
and not your friend from 4 states over.
Right. Right. Or somebody who's current and got a license. And sometimes I will
Yeah.
just actually say, I have found throughout my whole life, like things I do with friends, like business deals, like my insurance person or my um, again a great they've hurt us a little bit more than help us if I'm dealing with close friends on some important things. Sometimes it's better. Like my accountant is not my friend. I like the man, but he is
Mhm.
not my friend. My
True.
and that's the thing too. You do that business plan, you gather your posse. Your posse is your accountant, your insurance person, you got, maybe you're buying fabric, you got some reps, you got some things like that, right? You're grabbing your people to help you with your business.
And possibly a lawyer.
Oh yeah, lawyers too, for yes.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Are you doing this by yourself, or are three of your friends going in and opening a quilt shop together? Like,
Oh,
then I want a partnership agreement and I want a lawyer involved, right?
right,
So, and even if you're buying a long arm together, you should have a partnership agreement.
right,
Where's the long arm? Who owns it? What percentage of the long arm do people own?
right.
Because if that partnership goes bad, you're great friends now, but we've
Right.
all had great friends in the past that have ended up not being friends after a while, right?
Right.
And you don't want a $40,000 machine in the middle of that.
And it protects your friendship too. It's
It
not just
does.
one, so it's a protection of your friendship as well, and
For sure.
to have those boundaries for sure. Yeah.
Well, and your finances, right? Your
Mhm,
personal finances.
mhm.
Um, just talking to people about how to form your business. Like, in most states you can be a sole proprietor and just report things on your 1040, your just normal tax forms. But you want to make sure that that's going to protect you and your family and your finances, right?
I think in the past 5 years, we've done pretty much it all. I was an LLC, a sole proprietorship, and now we're an S corp. So, I mean, and I've done that out of the advice of my accountant, not
Right.
me going, "Hey, I think I wanna do this."
See, and I jumped in straight to an S corp, but way back when I started my business, North Carolina didn't have LLCs. LLCs came in about 3 years later. We had a long discussion about whether or not I would become an LLC at that point. And she's like, in your case, I'd stay an S corp.
Right.
So your accountant, the person you're trusting with,
Mhm.
that's the person you need to talk to about that. The person doing your taxes, your accountant. And kind of the cool thing about an S corp that people don't think about, I think this works this way for LLCs too, though. You have to do corporate tax. Well, no, an LLC on is a form that goes onto your 1040. An S corp is a completely separate tax entity, right?
Right.
Well, I have to do corporate taxes, but my corporate taxes rely on my personal taxes and vice versa. So
Right.
my business pays to have my personal taxes done too.
Hmm.
So
Oh, my
they
husband
both have to
refused.
be done. They both rely on each other. They need to be done at the same time. Or at least my accountant wants them to be done at the same time. So all the cost goes to my business.
Yeah, my husband, I keep trying to get him to have our tax guy do it, and he's like, "Nope, I got it." And I'm like, "What?"
Mm-mm. Guys, I used to do taxes for a living. I worked for software companies that supported people who do taxes, and I am more than happy to let the professional do that for me.
Absolutely, for sure. And it's just, and the other thing too is even in your basement, you should probably think about opening up a separate checking account just for your business.
A separate checking account, and even as a sole proprietor, you can have a federal tax identification number for your
Mhm,
business. So you
mhm.
do not have to be giving every vendor out there your social security number,
Right.
right?
Yes. That's a good
So
piece of advice.
yeah. So I'm really protective with that social security number. I've had my identity stolen. Guys, please protect your social security number.
Right, right.
But yeah, so you can and all it is another number that is, you know, coded to you, right? But it's a personalized number from the federal government. And then you don't have to feel like you're giving away your actual, personal information out. Because when you go like through market and you're buying something for a quote store, we're giving that tax identification out like it's water, guys. Like everybody's got it. They might as well print it on our badge. Yep. We're giving money out like that too. But it feels that way.
How it does. But then again, we're in the military, and like I know Doug's social security number. I mean, like it's just like I know what our codes were with our kids and all that other stuff. And you were you're dependent as well. Seems
I
like
can
the
still
social
quote
security
that.
number is like phew, like it's a thing. I don't know. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, to get medical care, we had to go in and give for a long time, just the last four of his social and then his entire social. So I just rattle it off like it's nothing. And then if you ask me for my husband's, I'll go, I can look that up. That's like, but I know my dad's, you know? So yeah.
The other thing I would think about, and this one is, I'm going to just tell you from hindsight, you need to research a point of sale system. So whether
Yes.
you're in your basement and you're going to do a Google Sheets, I did that. And then I went into that, whatever, there's a quilting program that helps you with your quilt intake. I can't remember what it's called. I get it mixed up with EQ8 all the time, but it had something kind of like a number like that. And then when we bought the store, we did QuickBooks, and quickly, why that's a phenomenal program. It is not conducive to fabric. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing is go to the industry and see where you can get what the industry kind of leads to.
Yeah,
There's
not as a POS. QuickBooks not as a POS.
right.
Right? QuickBooks as an accounting program, I still use, but QuickBooks as a POS, no.
We didn't know any better, so we just got QuickBooks. And then so that quickly changed. We went into this one that is strictly for quilt stores, which is awesome because I can say, hey, this heat wave kit takes these 5 fabrics and then it takes it out of
The fabric
the fabric from the bolt, and then that leaves 14 yards on the bolt and 1 yard into the kit. And I made 6 kits, and all it's just like fabulous. Well, that got see my journey with point of sales. I'm done. This last one I think about did me in because that program got bought out and now we're strictly Shopify, which again, this world of fabric is an interesting world and trying to break it into increments online. I just want you all to know, if you're watching this here, the reason we do have increments finally on our webpage, but it was a Herculean event. We did it, but it's not as simple as you think. And things do not talk to each other as well as people say things talk to each other.
Well, right. And you actually did the quarter yard and everything. I sell by the inch, and I was able to do that easily on Shopify. I use Shopify as well. Tracy actually uses Shopify also. All 3 of us do. But I sell wide back, so I just sell it by the inch. So because my customers will need 59 inches of wide back because it works for me, and you're always going to have some waste off of a bolt. So
I wish we could sell by inches. I would in a heartbeat sell all of my fabric by inches because I do that with we do that with our batting on the bolt by the inch. And I love it that our long arm renters can come in and get just the exact amount that they need. But if we did that, I would have lots of questions. I'd have to have a full-time question and answer person.
You do. I mean, you do. Yeah. And every once in a while I'll get an order for 2 inches of something. And I'm like, and we call them and they go, oh, I want 2 yards. Okay. So you don't think you were getting, 2 yards, a yard of fabric for 26 cents, right?
Right.
That's not happening. You needed to put in 72 to get right. And the customers are fine. They're like, oh yeah, because it's different, right? It's not the norm. And if I was doing a full quilt store, I would be paying someone to do the quarter yard thing too for me, right? Because it's just the way fabric stores have worked, is by selling by yard increments and not by inches, right?
Right.
So yeah.
The other thing I would probably check out is if you did want to become working with a distributor for either fabric and or thread or whatever you want to do. If you're into t-shirt quilts and you want to just piece those t-shirt quilts, I've actually got a beautiful partnership with the lady here who she pieces the t-shirt quilts and then she gives them to us to long arm. So it's a nice relationship to build that relationship. Something, she has her own business that doesn't, but yet he works it out nicely. So that's a great relationship to have. But make sure when you check into your distributors that you understand their minimum and how much you have to buy per year.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll have minimums and they'll say, oh, we don't really have a minimum, because what they've learned as a wholesaler is if I give you a minimum, that's all you're going to buy.
Right.
That people tend to spend more if you don't have a minimum. But then in a year, you're going to find out, yeah, you didn't buy enough for this to be worth it for us, and that there really was a minimum they didn't tell you about. So just expect that a little bit too. It's happened a couple times in the past to me, but now I buy too much for that
We were thinking about that about one particular vendor recently, which one I'm probably talking about, Angela, and I was like, wonder if we hit that minimum they want us to make before we get the next. It was just kind of it wasn't interesting because Jake and I have been on that particular vendor buying quite a bit.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I know. But it was
Couple
just kind of
vendors that are like, I don't know what she's doing, but woohoo, right?
a right. Oh, and that's the other thing. Ask for deals when you're like starting up your business and you do have some of these vendors. When we moved to this bigger store, it
Mhm.
was so fabulous because they gave us some giveaways
Yeah.
and they helped us with this, our big expansion. So they are very giving and they're very good about this.
Yeah, especially if you have a quilt shop. Like if you have a retail location, it's important for you to get to know your rep for whatever
Mhm.
company you're working for or
Right.
working with.
Hmm.
And you will have a rep assigned.
Yes.
Um, you may not know it. Like there's a couple that I don't know who my rep name are. I just order
Right.
online and I'm happy.
Right.
But if I go to market, I have to be able to tell them who my rep is
Right.
because they want my rep to be the one that helps me in their booth
Right. Or to get the credit.
or to
It's
get the credit.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
right, and, because they're commission based,
Right.
so, yeah, my fabric reps I all know because they come into the show the showroom, um,
Hmm.
my fabric reps are trained to only show me wide back, like and they'll call me at times and say, "Yeah, we don't have anything that you're gonna buy that's wide back based, but we're gonna be in the area if you wanna say hi if you want us to come by
Right.
and say hi."
Oh, it's
Um,
great. Those relationships are fabulous.
yeah, so but that's the other side if you're honest with them, it's really hard when you're sitting across from a rep and they're showing you everything that they have, you want to buy something just because they're spending so much time with you. And it's hard to
No.
say, I don't need that, right?
Right.
You need to get a really thick skin and understand what your business can sell and what it can't, and not buy things you can't sell.
Put those big boy, big girl pants on. Yes, you can say no.
And it's also okay to place an order and before it ships, call them up and say, I've been really thinking about that and that's not for me.
Oh, we just got a fabric line in minus one bolt. So now I have to figure out what we're going to do with the pattern and tell them I don't want that
Mhm.
bolt 2 months from now.
Right,
Right?
right. And
Yeah.
that's okay too because they couldn't meet the expectation they sent with they gave you. They said, "We're gonna ship this line all at once," and they couldn't do that.
Right.
So they have to expect you to sub something in at that point. And that can be a hard thing if you are doing a actual fabric store. Just you have a quilt that's all one line, and you have to put in another fabric,
Hmm.
right? So it's not going to
Oh,
look exactly like the picture.
one of my best words I've ever been taught. Make sure that it ships complete.
Mhm.
Like I don't get piecemeal 3 bolts here and 2 bolts here and 5 bolts here. It has to all come together. And I also now know that if you say I want it shipped on, I want it delivered in June, 30 days after that, we're not going to take it. So that's on you.
Yeah.
That means I'm canceling. So it's interesting.
Mhm.
So with that, I guess that's the one lesson I learned after getting into business,
Mhm.
no matter what it is and what level you are at, that sometimes you need to ask for help and it's okay to do that. That is not a sign of failure.
That is true. I mean, it's okay to ask other shop owners. It's okay to ask industry professionals, Um, yeah. And you should form a group of people that are also retailers, not necessarily quilt shop retailers, right?
Right,
Other
right.
retailers that
Hmm.
are a professional resource to each other.
Yes. And also just it is good to have your friends who are also long armors in case because customer service is a tricky thing. I try to be very positive all the time, but a lot of stuff coming back at you is not always positive. And being able to blow off steam with somebody else or on all kinds of just somebody else who can understand and empathize. They can really empathize, not
Well,
sympathize, but empathize.
yeah, I mean, we're friends and we talk a lot about a lot of different things and Tracy too. The three of
Yep.
us talk a lot. But when it comes down to it, we all have our own networks, right? That we are also talking about things too
Yes.
about, right? And then we
Yep.
come together and the three of us will talk about stuff, that
Hmm.
like, well, I was just in this group and we were talking about X and I
Yep.
can see it applying to us this way, right?
Right.
Well, Kathy's going to have a different outlook because her conversation was completely different than the one I was in,
Right.
right? So having a group of friends that are doing the same thing that you are is important, but having a group of friends that don't do what you are important they're both important, and they give you different data, right?
Right.
Because when it comes down to it, what we're doing all the time is analyzing data and reacting to it. So you need to be able to get that data in to analyze it. Well,
I know my goal is to be like proactive and less reactive. That's my goal. But right now I just feel like I'm putting out fires, man. So it's all good. But that's still, even if I'm more reactive, that's still living the dream. I still have that entrepreneur, budding part of I love the fact that I had my own business in the basement. And then when it was small, it was fabulous when it was small. Maybe that's all that you need and all that you want. Perfect. Right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right. If you want something bigger, there's opportunity. Right? Well,
your business is going to grow to the extent that you manage it to grow.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah.
It's good. No. I mean, besides, obviously legal help for your state, because everybody's different. None of us are talking anything like we know what we're talking about, because I don't. And I, like we talk about the machines, even I talk about our machines, right? That we know for sure. We can kind of guesstimate at other stuff, but that's not what we're trying to do either. We're making sure we give you the direct route to do it, take care of your machines. But the thing about business in general is just have fun and to soak in all of the good and the bad things that happen. Like there are bad days. There are bad days.
There are definitely bad days.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you really need your friends.
Yes. Yeah, because hey, I called Angela crying one day. I'm just saying, I can't do this anymore. I actually walked out of the building. Nobody heard me. Nobody even knew about it. It was the person on the bike did.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call you someday crying. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But because that helps us to work through things. But to also, the other thing I would really encourage you to do is to take some time, set some anniversaries for yourself, and make sure you tick off those little baby goals and some of the bigger goals.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that.
Yeah, one of the things that I do at the end of every year, so after, inventory is done and everything that has to be done for year end, books are at the accountant's. So I am starting my new year. I sit down with my business plan.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what goals I may have made and what goals I didn't. Did I follow my plan this year, which normally it takes a life of its own. And just to give you an example, when I wrote my business plan before I became a long armor, I put, 1-year goals and 5-year goals in.
Mm-hmm.
And I went off and merrily, started becoming a long arm quilter. A year after I bought my long arm, I walked into the APQS group booth in Houston and looked at Don Kavanaugh and Heidi Kyson and said, I have a problem and I don't know what to do. And Don looked at me and said, okay, so how can we help you, Angela? And I was like, okay, well, that business plan you told us we had to do? And she said, yeah. And I goes, I've made all my 5-year goals and then some. And I don't even know where to go at this point. At which point she says, oh, we need bigger goals. But I mean, I thought I had
it's simple. It's just bigger goals.
I had these huge goals for myself, right? Like, I wanted to get an award on the state level and all this stuff. 9 months in, they were all done.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which, that's great. But it's like, I didn't even know how to react to that.
Right.
So some of your goals need to be just like pie in the sky, never think it's going to happen goals, right?
Oh, yes.
So that you're not going to attain them the first year. They weren't as big as I thought they were, right?
Right.
But and you have to also think I was already an APQS rep at that point.
Right.
Like I was going in and talking to them because I'm like, I really don't know what to do myself, but I don't know what to tell somebody else that comes up and asks me this. right? And the Dawn going, "Oh, you just need bigger goals." I mean, I'm sure that you can see her saying it to me. You weren't even there, and I'm sure you can see her
Well,
saying
it's just about,
it going,
it's sometimes we,
"Yes."
oh yeah, it's like the simple things. Like I'm over, like, what do I need to do? I don't understand. Some bigger goals. Oh,
Oh. So then she gave me some ideas of bigger goals. Some of them I
yeah,
used, some of them I didn't, right?
right. Yeah,
Because she knows what I was doing too, right? So she was able to both her and Heidi were awesome about trying to steer me and keep me on a path that was going up, right?
right.
So yeah, it was a little humbling going, I just don't know at this point. I don't, and at that point, I really felt like I wasn't in control, like I wasn't steering my own company. And um, you need to feel like you are steering your company, that you know where you're going,
Right.
right? And if
You're
you
the
don't,
captain. You
stop.
just have some people who are helping you. That doesn't mean your
Mhm.
accountant is running your business. You are running your business. That doesn't mean all of these other people, you are running your
Yeah.
business.
Going and talking to somebody who professionally coaches retail businesses
Mhm.
is not a sign of failure. It's a sign you want to succeed.
Right.
So, you know, it is okay to go to some of these big, companies that actually do retail coaching. So the one that we know probably the best in the fabric industry, because they do classes at Market, is Whizbang,
Right.
right? Um, you can learn so much by taking a class at Market from them,
Right.
right?
Or signing for some stuff up online. They have stuff online
They have
there.
stuff online too. They
Yeah.
do. They
Mhm.
do. But if you want to go with a bunch of other quilt shop owners, right? Because they also do it's not just the quilting industry, right?
Oh gosh, no. Pet
So,
sitters, nonprofits. It's amazing, actually.
and if you're going to be a professional in the quilting industry or in the sewing hobby industry, you need to be going to one of the trade shows for that industry. So the one for the quilting industry is Quilt Market in Houston.
Right.
Um,
Or
and
H now up in Chicago.
right. Well,
Mhm.
that one is for sewing, right?
It is, but it's quickly, it's more for like yarn and stuff, but it's quickly
Yeah.
changing to, it's gonna rival, I think, Houston.
Houston with yarn.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think it's
So
Houston with yarn, kinda. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think more and more are going there. So it's a different, it's from Europe, and it's landed here in the United States, and so there's some things that are really helping.
And there's one of those for embroidery.
Yep.
There's a professional market for embroidery. There's a professional market for scrapbooking, and so you want to go and take classes, right?
Mhm.
Learn more about your industry, like get more industry contacts,
Right. Oh, networking. Ooh,
networking.
networking is so important.
Yeah, Kathy and I went to market last year together. You get so much out of just sitting down and talking to people.
Yes.
Like some lady sitting at a table, the
Yep.
lady sitting in the seat next to me flying to Houston, right, has become a
Yes.
friend. Has become a friend,
Yes.
right? So, it you just have the conversation. It's for me, it's awkward. I am an introvert. That's hard to understand when you see me like on a podcast or me doing videos and stuff like that. But I actually am an introvert. So
Yeah, I'm not.
walking up and talking to a stranger that's sitting there, peacefully doing their own thing is very awkward for me because I'm just as happy being over in my corner doing my own thing. It's like, but I can do it at market, right? I can put myself on stage and do it and go up and talk to people. And, I talk to my local quilt shop owners,
Yep. Yes.
right? I,
Mhm.
you know, what
Me,
can
on the other hand, thrive in that environment.
yeah. So, and then I have Kathy that just, drags me kicking and screaming with her down the halls of market. Trust me, she did.
Hello, Mr. Scott Fortunoff. How are you?
And some of them she was surprised because I already knew them. Like, hi.
No, no, you've been in it way longer than I have. So,
No, because it was like, I want you to meet this person. I'd walk up and go, hey, how you doing? We're giving each other hugs and talking about their kids, right? So it, that's the industry that we work and we thrive in, right? Is
mhm.
we're in an industry that is small,
Yeah.
right? We're spread out all over the place, but the industry itself, what's like what, a $7 billion industry? That's still a
Right.
very small
It is very small, but
niche
it's still,
industry. It's bigger than what most people think it is,
yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's not like we're in the automotive industry or the oil industry,
Right.
right?
I think we're the quiet quilters. We're just quiet about what we do. We
Yeah,
don't tell a lot of people sometimes that we're quilters. So that's where you need to get your friends around you. And it's good having
mhm,
quilters, but it's also good having business people as well around you
yes.
to get those ideas, because you just never know what great idea is going to come around the corner.
And then another thing, that's if you have someone who is supporting you, right, or being supportive of you, but they
Hmm.
don't understand what you do,
Ah,
at some point they need to come see what you do,
yes.
right? So, like, my husband's done road shows with me for years. He's set shows up for me. He's worked booths with me. He doesn't really understand what I do. And then I took him to market,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he's like, "Oh, like, oh, okay, right." Didn't and he things that he was saying to me were still like pat you on the head, "You're doing a good job," type thing, and it was irritating me,
Right.
right? And now he's like, "No, she is a businesswoman. She can handle her business. I don't tell her what to do," right?
Right.
His entire attitude changed. And not that he was trying to be condescending, because he really wasn't.
No.
He's just, up in, the clouds, not really able to understand what I do at all, right? So I don't understand what he does, and you will never see me doing anything with a satellite in orbit. It's not going to happen.
I'm with you,
Um,
sister. With you.
so, like, you're talking to two of us that are like, yep, our husbands are massively smart, and they are very good at what they do,
Right.
right? And I'm not going to try to do it. But I can also tell you, my husband isn't going to walk into Threadwaggle tomorrow and try to do what I do, because he can't.
Okay. The best story.
Mhm.
So we were, I had to take Maggie to the doctor. So Maggie's my daughter who works in my store with me.
Mhm.
And Jacob was home with his son who was in the hospital. And I had one employee here running the whole store. And this was when we were at the smaller store. My husband, I'm like, Doug, get up there to help Kate. I don't know what you're going to do, but you just need to do that. So my husband does have his PhD in astronautical engineering, like Angela's husband here. So we
Yep.
joke the whole rocket scientist thing is really real.
Mhm. Yep.
He walks and he goes, I'm here, Kate, and I think I'm certified to vacuum.
And Kate's like, "Yes, the store will be clean."
I can't do anything else. I can't close the register. I don't know how to do the long arms, but I can vacuum.
And I could do exactly what you tell me to do. Like, that would be Matt. If he walked in, he'd go, "I'm here." And if we needed him to work on a machine, great, right? But if
Mhm.
I needed him to teach someone how to long arm,
No.
no, he couldn't do that, right? And he's aware of it. And yeah, like, Matt, my husband and Kathy's husband work for different companies, but work together too.
Yeah.
So,
They actually kind
um,
of met before, I think.
yeah, I know Matt knew who your husband was. So yeah,
Right. So,
yeah,
but anyway, so get your family involved. It
they
might
do
take
need to
a
be involved.
while.
It's a small business. They do need to be involved. It's a family owned small business. Yeah.
Some are not always on the same page.
Nope.
We're still struggling with that. And that's fine. That is fine. But it is a real business. Just because
Mhm.
people don't know about your business does not mean that you should let them poo poo you. Do not do that. Do not, because you work in the basement, you are working and you're a long armor in the basement, or you're making t shirt quilts. You are taking somebody's memories and somebody's hard earned work and working on them and turning them into beautiful things. So give
Right.
yourself that credit. You deserve it.
Right. And you are doing something that not everyone else can do.
Right. Right. But get your team together. Your team is many different, everybody's team looks different. You might have a spouse who's a lawyer or an accountant, and that's
Mhm.
wonderful. That's fantastic. But, some of us, most of us, for us who have rocket scientists as husbands, who nothing translates into this business. So get your people around you, find your posse, move forward. Remember, you're going to have setbacks everywhere.
Okay.
But those are good because they help you reevaluate. Don't you think?
Okay. I do.
Well,
The reason I'm getting a funny face is that I just heard somebody walk into my house.
oh no.
Speaking of the rocket scientist, he just walked into the house. Yeah,
That's
it just happened. It's real, guys. It's
well, this is real. We're moving. My Maggie came to the door. It's all good. But start a business, enjoy the journey. Don't be afraid to put the brakes onto your business if it's getting out of control and slow down. We had to do that. Jake and I had to do that after COVID.
It's okay to regroup and change what you're doing.
Yes.
It's your business. You get to steer it.
Yes. Yes. And then if you take a hiatus for a little while, it's okay.
That's okay too.
Right. Enjoy the journey. Keep quilting.
For sure.
Quilt for yourself. Schedule time for yourself.
Yeah.
Schedule your own quilting projects.
Schedule time to go to a quilt retreat every once in a while. Like get away from your business once in a while.
Yes. The best thing we did is drive back from Michigan for 10 hours to set some goals. After that business meeting was out of no employee could get us. We couldn't run away from all of everything. We're in the car. We're looking forward. It was a fabulous time.
Yeah.
So just go in with your eyes open as much as you can. You're not going to be able to cover everything.
Yep. And if you want a sample business plan, there is one up on the apqs.com site. You can download for free. You can change any of the information on it, make it your own. The industry information is going to be accurate. APQS pays for the industry information on a regular basis. It's like going to be like the competitive stuff that you're going to need to change to your area. So yeah.
All right. Other than that, Angela, what do you think?
I think that they should go out and conquer the world. That's what I think.
I know. I can't wait to hear some great new business names for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So, and remember, if you want topics you want us to cover, comment so that we can keep doing new content.
Right.
For sure.
Subscribe to the channels. We have all of them. We have all 4 of them down below listed for you all to subscribe to because all of us put out different content.
Yes, we do. And then, link, share, not link, share. You can link it to us if you want to, too. That's fine. Whatever you want to do. We're pretty much cool with anything.
Right. Let us know. First of all, give us some comments and some feedback. We love that.
Yep.
But most of all, just enjoy life. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
Have a good one, Angela.
You too. Bye.